I'm Lynn Burry. Headlining the news this week, the speech from the throne comes down in St. John's. The government says the main thrust is job creation, but that doesn't carry weight with the opposition. The federal and provincial governments continue their war of words with no truce in sight. And a seat sale by Air Canada causes a public furor when the airline's employees snap up the bargain seats in advance. These stories and more when we continue with the Week in Review.
I'm Michael Connors. Join me every weekend on NTV's Issues and Answers as I interview the province's top newsmakers. That's Issues and Answers, airing at 12:30 every Sunday on NTV, 12 noon in most of Labrador.
I'm Beth Penny. We could all use a little bit of good news these days, so join me Monday nights on the award-winning NTV Evening News Hour for Silver Linings.
The provincial legislature opened Thursday afternoon with the speech from the throne that the government says emphasizes job creation. But the opposition members are not satisfied. They say many of the recommendations of the House Royal Commission report on unemployment and employment were ignored.
Disappointed to see so little from the House Royal Commission contained in the throne speech. And the biggest gap, I guess, is that there's no comprehensive economic plan. The province has adopted a few ideas. They've adopted a few of our ideas. I'm happy to see, for example, that they're prepared to subsidize 50-50 with employers the opportunity for young people and others to get employment. In other words, they'll pay 50% of new jobs that are created, the salaries for those. But by and large, there is no approach on an overall basis to economic development. There's no push towards rural development, which is the essence of the House Royal Commission. There's no, even on the major projects, no Lower Churchill, no Hibernia, no change from the status quo in labor relations, no attempt to deal with problems that come by chance and other labor relations problems. Only going to study guaranteed annual income or an income support program. It's been studied to death, and it's time that we implement it. A program that would see a guaranteed annual income for people in this province. I'm very disappointed. They could have done better. They had lots of ideas, but they chose not to. And you really wonder, is it lack of money? Is it lack of energy? Is it lack of interest? Why is it that they have so little in the throne speech when there are so many good ideas coming from all over, from people all over the province?
The House Royal Commission report's value is really the background reports, and there's boxes of them if you want to have a look at them. And they do a half-credible job of assessing a lot of our economy, a lot of the sectors of it, and diagnosing the problems and so on. So that's the really important stuff. I don't think we've seen very much of it in this throne speech. And as a matter of fact, what we have is the cheap stuff. Revising teacher education at Memorial, that won't cost anything. Entrepreneur courses and so on. All of that is perhaps desirable, and I'm still questioning whether that's really the problem we have in our terms of our education system, but it's certainly the cheap stuff, because you can implement that for virtually nothing down almost. I'm waiting for the budget. That will come in a couple of weeks' time. That's an indication, I think, more of where the priority is going to be, and I think we have to wait to see the dollar figures.
If you had been the Premier, what would you have put in the throne speech when it came to job creation?
I would have concentrated on the fishery. I would have concentrated on using FPI as the major engine to create employment in this province. I believe that it should have a worldwide mandate to sell fish all over.
The meat as a throne speech is a new thrust to try to create more jobs, both directly by the government through forestry and fishing and tourism and agriculture. Secondly, in a marriage with the private sector, to fund 50% of everybody's salary of any new people they take on in any business in the province, as well as a new youth entrepreneurial program to try to help the youth get into job opportunities. So what we're trying to do is to use every means possible. Service sector, resource sector, doesn't make any difference. We'll now allow loans to be done through the Rural Development Authority and the Development Corporation, even if they're in the service sector. So we're using every means that we can, we think, to try to create meaningful employment in the province. And we're calling upon the private sector to participate in these programs, and individuals around the province, whatever kind of business they want to get into, it makes no difference. That there's money available, we want to create jobs.
The feud between the federal and provincial governments flared once again this week. This time it was federal cabinet minister John Crosbie flying into Premier Peckford for the premier's comments that Ottawa's policies could bankrupt the province within the next 2 years. Austin Green reports.
Crosbie continued the war of words between Ottawa and St. John's, saying the provincial government has developed a bunker attitude, blaming all of its problems on the federal government.
Everything that happens is not the responsibility of anybody in that government of Newfoundland and Labrador. It's the responsibility of some giant outside forces, of an indifferent government of Canada, or whatever. That is not true.
Peckford claims federal policies are leading the province towards a 30s-style financial disaster. But armed with a battery of statistics, the transport minister said federal spending in Newfoundland is not eroding. He said everything from regional development funding to tax equalization payments are on the rise.
There is huge assistance coming from the government of Canada, from the taxpayers of Canada to Newfoundland.
Yet at the same time, Crosbie acknowledged that Ottawa may force the province to repay transfer payments because of a recent population drop.
Under the agreements, the government of Canada is entitled to deduct that $35 million from future tax equalization payments to Newfoundland.
Today's statements are almost certain to further inflame the ongoing feud and reduce the chances of a federal-provincial truce. Austin Green, NTV News.
The provincial government is investigating a special seat sale on Air Canada from St. John's to Toronto. A public furor erupted when it was learned that Air Canada employees had snapped up the lion's share of the seats before offering them for sale to the general public. Valerie Burton reports.
A lot of Newfoundlanders leave the province during the Easter break, and a round-trip airfare from St. John's to Toronto during the Easter weekend for a mere $99 appealed to quite a few. But when the Air Canada 50th anniversary celebration sale was made available to the public this Monday past, most seats had already been filled. Apparently, Air Canada's ticket agents were able to carry out a good number of advance bookings. Earlier today, the minister responsible for Consumer Affairs announced that he had sent a letter to the president of Air Canada asking for an explanation, and he wants the Canadian Transport Commission to investigate. Jim Russell says his department will also be conducting its own investigation.
But I've had my officials look at it to see if there is any evidence of false advertising. And if there is enough evidence to warrant it, then we'll certainly consider pressing charges at Air Canada. Other than that, I suppose by making the issue as public as we can, I don't know if we can embarrass Air Canada into doing anything, putting on another flight. But in the long term, it may make them more conscious of another time for a similar seat sale.
Earl Howell heads up the St. John's Association of Travel Agencies. Howell says there have been a few such incidents in the past, but never to this degree. And he wants to make certain this sort of situation doesn't happen in the future. Valerie Burton, NTV News.
On Thursday, Air Canada finally broke its silence on the controversial seat sale. The airline's regional manager, Bob Orsacci, said his employees will not be disciplined and that the whole matter has been blown way out of proportion. NTV's Paul Harpel reports.
Bob Orsacci says the Air Canada employees misunderstood when the special anniversary seats were supposed to go on sale. But he doesn't believe they deserve the abuse they're now taking over this affair.
But our employees, they've taken what I consider to be an inordinate amount of abuse over the phones and tolerated some very crude remarks from certain members of the public for something that I think has been misunderstood and not fully explained.
Orsacci says this event shouldn't have happened, but at the same time, he doesn't plan on taking disciplinary action against the employees.
I don't feel disciplinary action is even warranted or should be considered. Our employees are a very proud group of people, and they're very dedicated. They were quite excited about this 50th anniversary celebration. It was unique to St. John's. No one else in Canada is having it. They wanted to promote it. Our initial feelings were we weren't going to sell all the seats. It's Easter weekend. Most of St. John's is in Florida. And we just didn't feel that we would sell all those seats, that it was a nice public relations gesture.
There have been a number of accusations that friends and relatives of the airline employees had the first crack at the $99 deal. But Osachi says he doesn't know if that's the case.
My point is, we feel that everything being ideal, everyone should have had access at 9 o'clock. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out the way it should have. But the people who booked, and not all of the people on these flights, in fact, I would say is a very small percentage, although it's very difficult for us to tell who are friends and who are relatives, they are still the traveling public.
As somewhat of a peace offering for the general public, Air Canada has made another plane available for the anniversary sale. But even the 306 seats on that flight are already taken. Paul Harpel, NTV News.
Meanwhile, Federal Transport Minister John Crosbie says he plans to look into exactly what happened. Crosbie says the sale gives the appearance of unfair tactics.
I don't know whether I'll launch an investigation, but I'll certainly ask Air Canada for an explanation. The body that regulates transportation in Canada is the Canadian Transportation Commission, and they can be asked to investigate. But I'm certainly going to ask Air Canada for an explanation of what happened here. It certainly appears to be a foul-up, or it doesn't appear to have gone off very well. So I think an explanation is needed.
So it would be fair to say that it is an unusual practice to give employees or friends of employees a first shot at a package deal.
Well, I don't know what the practice is, but I believe if you're offering a seat sale to the public, that the public should be given a chance to acquire the seats, and that you shouldn't favor certain other persons unless it's well known at the start that certain people have priority. So naturally, if you're offering it to the public, one would like to see the public have the first chance.
When we continue with the Week in Review, we will look at the inquiry looking into the use of aluminum cans in the brewing industry.
NTV and Canada, a match made in heaven.
There were dire predictions this week that aluminum cans would destroy this province's thriving brewing industry. The remarks came from NAPE President Fraser March at an inquiry into the effect cans would have on the business of brewing beer.
I believe that we're on a quest to save the brewing industry in this province. We believe that should the aluminum can become the major container for the sale of beer in Newfoundland, not only will some of our members lose work, but in all likelihood, the whole brewing industry will cease to exist in this province. That the day will come, should the aluminum can take a significant portion of the marketplace, when all beer consumed in this province will be brewed in Montreal or at an outside chance Halifax and shipped in, and we will in fact have destroyed the brewing industry in Newfoundland. So I think the hearings that this commission are going to have, is having, the recommendations to government and the ultimate action by government, because only government can solve this problem.
All three major breweries are appearing before the Commission of Inquiry. On Thursday, it was Curling O'Keeffe's turn. A lawyer for the company said the use of aluminum cans would only have a minor effect on employment levels. But that statement drew instant protest from labor organizations. Jim Toms reports.
Make no mistake about it, fewer workers are required to produce beer in cans than beer in bottles. Carling O'Keefe lawyer Ed Roberts made that clear with regard to the company's one-line production plant in St. John's.
26 people work on the line when it is producing bottled beer, while only 11 are required when it is being used to produce beer in cans. The difference essentially, Mr. Chairman, arises from the nature of the container itself. Bottles, unlike cans, are reused, and they must be rewashed and relabeled each time they are used.
Only 5% of local beer production is in cans, but Mr. Roberts said there would be no loss of full-time jobs even if the proportion was higher, though there may be temporary layoffs. He said that at Carling O'Keefe, 15 jobs would be affected.
15 men, those 15 men, will lose 9 days of work a year if can production continues at the 5% level. If the production increases to 10%, 2 days a month, then those 15 men will be laid off for 22 days a year each. Now, Carling O'Keefe suggests, sir, that the 10% level is the maximum market penetration likely to be achieved by cans in Newfoundland within the next several years.
Even if there are temporary layoffs, Carling O'Keefe holds that the workers are protected. They can take advantage of what is known as the Guaranteed Wage Plan, or DWP, though unions question whether the plan would do what is touted for it.
The GWP can be described, sir, in one short sentence. It ensures that a qualified worker who is laid off will receive, during the time he is on layoff, at least 70% of his wages.
I don't think that the GWP was ever set up to look after people that would, in actual fact, be terminated, but it would take them a year to terminate them. They talk about a 52-week period that they would be entitled to 70% of their salary, but the fact of the matter is after the 52 weeks, they're terminated.
Steve Beckwith works with Labatt's, and Labatt's has said to hold the view that the matter of cans is so important it could determine whether or not Newfoundland has a brewing industry at all 5 years down the road. Mr. Beckwith, chairman of a Ban the Can committee, also sees a survival threat to the industry.
We see the cans, the introduction of the cans will mean a loss of an industry for the brewing industry and have a major drastic effect upon the spin-off industries such as the carton industry and truckers and other industries in the province.
Did you say loss of the brewing industry?
Total loss.
You mean disappear completely?
Yes, it would mean the three major companies in Canada would close up their three brewery locations here and ship it in from out of the province. A loss
Mr. Beckwith says he has the facts to back it up.
We base all our facts on the industry itself. Sandy Morrison, the president of the Brewers Association of Canada, who represents the 39 breweries in Canada, in a report that he done for Federal Minister Mr. Kelleher, states that the industry must restructure and go from 39 breweries to 12. Those 12 breweries must be located in densely populated areas of Canada. Newfoundland represents approximately 2% of the Canadian population, so I would suggest Newfoundland is not one of those facilities.
The battle lines appear to be drawn as far as cans are concerned. Unions are against them, and the companies themselves in this fiercely competitive industry are hardly likely to present a common front one way or the other. Jim Toms, NTV News.
The long-awaited by-election for the riding of St. John's East has finally been called for July 20th. All three parties feel they have a good shot at the seat.
Has 6 months in which to name the date of an election, and he decided to call it within that 6 month time frame, which is completely legitimate.
But he's really stretching it, isn't he?
Not necessarily. I recall in St. John's West, when the Liberals were in power, that Mr. Trudeau waited over a year, as a matter of fact, almost a year and a half, before he called an election.
What are your organizational plans? When are you planning to hold nomination meetings and the like?
The St. John's East Executive will be meeting very soon and deciding on a date and place and the nomination process.
Tom Hickey has made no secret of the fact that he'd like to run in St. John's East. Is he a top contender?
Of course, Mr. Hickey would be a top contender. He's an experienced politician, very well known, very well respected in the party. I think Tom Hickey would be an excellent candidate.
Well, we're delighted that he's finally called it, and we're very upset that he's let a province that is in such chronic need of employment and other things to be addressed to go for 11 months without representation in the House of Commons. I think that's a disgrace. He knows it, the people in St. John's East know it, and I think they're going to let him know what they think about it on July the 20th.
Is that highly unusual, though? Didn't Pierre Trudeau at one point in time leave St. John's West open for quite a number of months?
I'm not sure that that was done, and if it was done, it wasn't the right thing to do, and the fact that Trudeau did it, if he did it, and I'm not sure that he did, doesn't make it right. I mean, this is an unacceptable situation. I'm not sure that the Prime Minister Trudeau won St. John's West after he left it unrepresented.
What do you think about the specific timing?
Well, it doesn't show a huge amount of confidence on the part of Prime Minister Mulroney, that's for sure. This is 9 months after it could have been called, and that's 9 months that the people of St. John's East have not had a Member of Parliament in order to help them with their problems, in order to make representation for them in the House of Commons. And that's really a shoddy way to organize things, but I think it's an indication of how confident he is of the election, or maybe more appropriately, how worried he is about the outcome of it.
Who will be running for the NDP party in St. John's East?
Well, that will depend on who wins the nomination. It's my understanding that early next week there will be an election planning committee meeting, and then we'll be giving out the rules that are involved here, because it's we know that there are a number of people who are interested in the nomination. We will be telling them when the nomination meeting will be held. The fact is that only New Democrats can vote, but that there is a period of time at which maybe new members could be recruited for individuals who wish to help contest it. So that my guess is that we'll see a nominating meeting sometime in perhaps late April, early May, and allow about 3 months or so for the election campaign itself.
And finally this week, tradition is a staple of the menu at the weekly luncheon meeting attended by members of the St. John's Rotary Club. And tradition is music to the ears for some.
That's how members of the St. John's Rotary Club always open their weekly luncheon meeting. More often than not, the man at the piano in the all-male club is John Clouston, a member of Rotary for a great many years, and their main pianist for almost as long.
Oh, about 25 years or more. Ever since Bob McLeod quit. I've been in Rotary since 1952. And at least 25 years I've been playing. Bob Innes and myself, have been playing the piano before and during the meal.
It's a labor of love for the retired businessman and bridge expert. Rotarians have a tradition that their weekly luncheon goes ahead no matter what else happens. And John Clouston tries hard to hold to the tradition.
It's sometimes very hard. When one of us can't make it, the other usually fills in.
Have you enjoyed it?
Very much so.
I see you always play the old-time tunes.
I do. I'm 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I love the old-time tunes.
And the people here obviously enjoy it too.
I presume they do. They listen to me. They tell me they like it.
John Clouston's been probably one of the most faithful Rotarians one could have in any club.
You like the kind of music he plays?
Oh, yes. Always entertaining, and he plays according to the season, always do something to get the people up.
John Clouston, yes, John's been at it for a great many years. I don't really know how many, but he's an excellent kind of piano player.
He's been there a long time.
You like it?
Oh, it's tremendous.
Do you like the music he plays, the old...
Yeah, that's right.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Old-time music, is that what you mean?
That's right, yeah, the old-time music, yeah.
You're too young to remember all that.
That's right.
Not too young to enjoy it, though.
No, I can say that.
Next to bridge and his role as director of the St. John's Bridge Club, music is a favorite pastime. He once wrote a song, Follow Your Dream, and had it accepted for American TV through CBS with Ray Bloch's orchestra. Now and then, Rotarians are treated to John Clouston's rendition of his own compositions. Jim Towns, NTV News.
And that's our report for this week. Please join us once again next Saturday for the Week in Review.